the goal is to be able to connect, empower, and advance Black and brown sports professionals to continue to be the change and also to lead the charge so that we're all sitting at the top of the ladder, but also continuing to have a pool of applicants that are strong, capable, and going to push us forward as the culture, but also the sports world.
What up, though, Black Fridays family? Welcome back to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. Before I introduce my guest for this week, I want to make sure that I remind you to subscribe to the podcast on all streaming platforms, and then also make sure you hit that subscribe and like button on YouTube as well. All right, now that I got that out the way, my guest here today is a person who works in professional sports, is also the president of the Black Sports Professionals Detroit chapter and an entrepreneur with Essentials by JG, Miss Jessica Gray. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Welcome to Black Fridays, and we appreciate you pulling up. So I would love to be able to know, there is a sports community here in Detroit, I would say a budding sports community of Black professionals who actually work in these organizations, in these different businesses, and centered around sports. So I would love to know if you could open us up to the world of what Black Sports Professionals is, the national organization, and what the Detroit chapter is also.
Yeah, no, thank you for the intro and thank you for having me. So Black Sports Professionals is, like you said, the Detroit chapter of a national organization. There's over 25 chapters across the country. The organization was founded in 2006. With the impetus behind trying to create a space for us, right? Not only just in these office buildings, but like in the community, and how do we help each other like elevate? So the Detroit chapter was founded in 2021, and we just relaunched this year with our new leadership team. And again, Detroit is literally a pot of gold in regards to access, community, culture, but especially sports, having all the major sports teams represented in the city, having all these colleges and institutions locally within 45 minutes or an hour away. Like, we have a large bandwidth in regards to people that, one, work in the sports space, but also people that want to aspire to work in sports. So we have a great opportunity with having the draft here earlier this year. We were able to really leverage that and have a lot of visibility and connectivity. So the goal is to be able to connect, empower, and advance Black and brown sports professionals to continue to be the change and also to lead the charge so that we're all sitting at the top of the ladder, but also continuing to have a pool of applicants that are strong, capable, and going to push us forward as the culture, but also the sports world.
And I love what you said about Detroit being such a sports city with all the four major sports being represented here. You're from a sports town as well. I learned that you're from Philadelphia. And so could you talk about the importance of why an organization like a BSP is needed in different cities like that, where you have that sports community, but then also you don't necessarily have that representation in those organizations?
So that's the exact reason, right? Because while we all sit in these pockets of sport at our respective organizations or universities, you may be the one or the only, or maybe one of the few. BSP nationally hopes to serve as an ERG as well. So for those employees that may not see themselves represented within their own organizations, to be able to cultivate that relationship. But again, every city doesn't get to have every sports team. Like, that's a blessing. That's a privilege. So why not leverage that? So many people aspire to play sports or to think that they want to work in sports, but may not know how. And being able to have a community of professionals that span, whether you're the front office or you're coaching or you're assisting, or there's just so much there, marketing, communications, all these degrees, there's a space for you in sports. So being able to show people that doesn't matter what you studied. I was a broadcast journalism major in college, and I was a theater minor. I'm not on Broadway, right? But I get to do some of the things I learned in my studies in my job every day. So being able to see that there's a space for you. So visibility is huge, right? Because again, you have to see it to believe it. So us being able to have a presence within our own organizations, but also being able to leverage our community together is the only way that I think we can continue to take advantage of. There's so many people that want to be in sports, and showing these young students, these young kids, that you don't have to be the athlete to have a career in sports.
Absolutely. And I have some follow-up questions, but now I'm introducing my favorite part of Black Fridays, which is Freestyle Fridays. So Jessica, I know that you have a background in singing, so you have the opportunity to sing. You can give us some bars, you can rap. We have people do poetry, or you can do rapid fire questions. It's up to you, but you know, we had somebody sing on the show before and they shut it down. So
she did shut it down.
Yeah, so if you want to, you know, up the ante.
You know, I'm not going to bat ante. You know, okay. I literally was talking to somebody. I haven't sang publicly since I sang the national anthem at Temple before I left working there.
Humble brag.
Yeah, you know. But I'm all for rapid fire questions. Let's do that.
All right, let's do it. So you're from Philly, and how long have you been in Detroit now?
3 years.
3 years. Would you prefer a coney dog or a cheesesteak?
Neither. I'm pescatarian. I've been pescatarian for 4 years. So unfortunately, neither. Like, let's call it a salmon sandwich. Or a vegan plant-based
whoever
sausage.
got the salmon sandwiches, that's hitting.
Yeah, please let me know, because I be craving it.
And is the salmon pronounced with the L or without the L?
Without the L.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
all right,
the L is just there for like logistics. It's not to be said. Yeah, it's not salmon.
I appreciate you saying that, especially for some of these country Detroiters.
Yeah. The L is silent.
What do you love most about the city so far since you've been here?
The people. It's like, okay, I'm from Philly. Philly's a really rough nosed, tough, like, the fans in Philly are, I think, a good representation of how people are in Philly. A little like, what are you doing over here kind of thing. And I think Detroit is the perfect, like, milder Philly. Like, that Midwest is really nice to have, because I was like, somebody's being nice, and they're generally being nice. So I love the people, all walks of life, all the cultures. It's like a melting pot, which I think is something that is so slept on. And I think that people just have to come to Detroit, because you come here, you realize, like, it's literally a secret, like, hiding in plain sight.
Facts. And you were a collegiate athlete yourself. What sport did you do?
So I was a men's basketball manager. I retired from playing sports after high school.
Okay.
I wanted to be able to still be around sports and not let go of my athletic identity, but be able to utilize it in a different way. So being able to be on the back end of it and, like, behind the scenes helping players just kind of figure out life. So originally I thought I wanted to kind of go the operations route, and I think I still do that a lot in my career and day to day. But I stopped playing sports for fun after high school. Okay.
And then what was your sport in high school?
I did field hockey. I ran track, and I did the shot put and did the 200 in that. And then I played tennis outside of school.
Got you. So I have a great hypothetical question for you. So let's say Jessica's brain right now, and we get a chance to put it back. Let's say you played collegiate sports and we got a chance to put your mind now, what you know now, into Jessica back then. How much NIL money do you think you could have got?
Man, my mom would have been retired a long time ago. Yeah, I think that would have been a game changer then. I probably would have been one of those $1 million NIL athletes, just in terms of, like, I have so many different things I'm good at and interested in. So, and I feel like I'm pretty marketable, and I think I would have done the same then. And just my eagerness and my willingness to be involved. Yeah, I would have been one of those $1 million NIL girlies.
Love it. So would have just been the college vibing, not have to worry about nothing.
Yeah, because I was doing work study. I was, hustling. I'm Jamaican also.
Okay.
So, we always had about 11 jobs.
There's the stereotype.
Right. Yeah. It's real. I am the personification of the stereotype. So, and having NIL money in college would have been way better than having just a Pell Grant. I can tell you that.
For sure. Yeah. 1000%. Because it's like, what Pell Grant at that point?
Man, that's changed at that point. That's gas money.
And then in terms of, so sports is a big part of your life and your world, your career. What are non-sports related things that you like to do? Hobbies, activities, anything like that?
Well, that's kind of where my business comes from. So I think it was COVID, right? COVID, I think, made the whole world shut down and kind of realized what was going on. And I was so deeply wound up in my career. And I was living in Lubbock, Texas. And it was like, well, what do you do for you? Right? Like, again, I hadn't sang in years. My hobbies were going to the sporting events at work. And it was like, okay, let's take this idea and this love that I have for just smell goods and, like, let's make this a thing and, like, let's play around with it. And so now that's my, like, safe space. And, like, I go in my basement and I cook. I go downstairs, I make the candles when I have free time. So that's kind of my hobby now. I have a dog at home too. So spending time with her, my little girl Freckles, she is the best cuddle buddy. So we vibe out. We take our little hot girl walks. We definitely stop when it gets a little cold, because Michigan does not play.
Right.
But really just decompressing, spending time with my family and friends when they get to visit, because my life is really surrounded by my work here. So I don't get to have a lot of visibility and able to travel like I do. But Travel is definitely something I enjoy to do. So I try to go someplace new or someplace in the off season when I can. So I would say travel, spending time with my friends and family, and then really pouring into my company.
That's dope. And we're definitely going to tap back into the company and learn more about Essentials by JG. But congrats to you. You successfully passed Freestyle Friday. Thank you for doing the rapid fire. And I want to go back into where we left off before Freestyle Fridays. And you were talking about working in sports and then kind of like, what does that look like, especially for somebody who looks like us? And I want to know, how do you crack the code? Because working in sports is not necessarily an easy thing. They say it's a who you know type of business, and there, of course, your skills and things like that to keep you there. But how do you crack the code, especially as a Black professional, to get into sports?
Yeah, I would think it's just being willing to do the work. So anytime I talk to anybody, whether it's a young professional or a professional that's my age or older, it's kind of like really understanding your why, right? Because I tell people all the time, like, if you like going to games and you like to travel on the road and cheer on your teams, be a fan. Like, be a fan. Enjoy being a fan, because that's not what this is. Like, once you get on the inside of an organization, whether you're in ticket sales or you're in operations, like, this is work now. Yeah. These athletes, these front office staff members, these are your colleagues. So again, being willing to do the work. Like I said, I was a men's basketball manager in college, so I was wiping the floors down. I was doing the laundry. I was doing all the ugly things that nobody thinks about. And it manifested into, being able to go on a European trip with the men's basketball team and being able to have opportunities. But I was doing that laundry with pride, right? So taking pride in your work, rising to the occasion, and not just like being there and just like taking it like, oh, I'm just happy to be here. Like, no, own it. Own the opportunity, seize the opportunity, really leverage those relationships. Like I tell people all the time too, it's like, nobody can help you if they don't know what you want to do. So asking questions, being curious, staying curious, most importantly, because that's the only way you can continue to leverage everything and really rise, is having that level of curiosity and continuing to be a student of the game. But then when you get an opportunity, more importantly, I think, than doing the job well, is continuing to make space for people and creating opportunities for other people that look like us and people that don't look like us. Right. Because these organizations, these groups, these nonprofits, these agencies, whatever they are, they require people, and taking care of people and being a good person gets you a long way. For sure. And in addition to, or I should say, aside from the go-getter Jamaican attitude and spirit that's already inside of you, what made you willing to do the dirty work? Because I'm sure 9 people out of 10 are going to be like, hell no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm good on that. I'm not washing clothes. I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. What made you say, I'm cool with being able to do this part to get to the next part? I just didn't even, in college, I didn't even see the next part, right? Like, so I was a basketball manager in high school, and that was because I wanted to take a season off of sports. Still love basketball, but when everybody else started growing tall and doing all these crazy dribbles, I was like, this is when I tap out. You know what I mean? The Air One mixtape tour blew me, right? So when that happened, it was kind of like, well, I still want to be around my friends. Like, all my girlfriends were playing basketball. I was like, I still want to be around my friends, and now I can actually do some of the theater and things in that season that I didn't really get to do. So it was like, I had that kind of intentional thought process in high school. And one of my former coaches gave me space to be like, hey, well, you could do the books for basketball. You can travel with us across town. Like, you could be a basketball manager. So I just was like, I had no idea now, right, that's what that one decision would have made at 16, 15, that now 10, 20 years later, like, wow, right? Like, but I think it was just the curiosity and kind of having that gut check of, I could be a 3-sport athlete, or I could still be a 3-sport athlete, but a little different. So that was that. And then I think being first generation is in me. Like, I can't take the grind. I can't take the willingness to do the hard things out of me. Like, that's just what it is. Like, if my parents did not want to work hard, I wouldn't be here, right? Like, I'm literally the manifestation of the American dream for them. So I have no choice, right? I think the choices look differently now. I'm not passing out water and wiping the floor, right? But it's still service. It's still doing something bigger than me. It's still helping the person next to me be better as I'm continuing to be better myself. So I think just that, again, that curiosity. I've always been nosy. And my mom always says I should have went to law school, the way I ask questions. But it's like just that curiosity about, like, well, why does this happen this way? Or what makes this thing go this way? So I utilize that in my work, in my career, as well as with BSP Detroit, just having that curiosity about, like, well, what's happening over here and how can we be involved, or how can we make it better, or how can we just amplify it? And speaking of that, in terms of building, you had mentioned building out community or kind of fostering community. What does that look like in the Detroit sports professional scene, or just the Detroit sports scene for Black professionals?
I think I probably said the same thing 2 different ways,
Yeah.
but I think you know what I mean in the terms of like what does that community look like now? How is BSP and your job as president looking to try to foster that, mold that, and improve it?
Yeah. So like I said, the chapter launched and was founded in 2021. So I think the biggest part is making sure people know we're here and what the goals are. So again, connecting, empowering, and advancing. So connecting is making sure people know we here, one, but also like, where do we have these spaces where we can join up with each other and like build relationships? Because if I'm having my own struggles over here, you probably having similar struggles where you are too, but I don't even know you exist. So how do we break down those walls? Everybody's staff directory is not posted online.
Right.
So like who's behind these logos is kind of a mystery outside of college athletics, where you have the privilege to be able to go on the staff directory and be like, okay, here are these people. But even there, everybody doesn't have a headshot. So kind of like knocking down the wall to kind of reveal who's in these organizations, who's in these institutions, and how are they doing this work. And then how are we building those bridges to the students that are, one, maybe athletes right now, or the students that are studying sport management and don't know where they want to do with that degree.
Right.
Or insert every other degree that people still don't know what they want to do when they grow up. I tell people all the time, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Right. I'm still in this phase of like, I'm still learning my job right now. I have curiosity around other things. I'm still learning what it means to be a chapter president for BSP Detroit. But I think we have a great opportunity, one, to have that visibility, to have that connection point. We've done a lot of socials this year. We started doing monthly socials for First Fridays, which I think has been a great opportunity for people to know we're here and to have some continuity in programming. But next year, I want us to continue to leverage like our skill set now. Like, let's have some panels. Let's look at doing a mentorship program. Where's our student population? Right? Like, that's an opportunity that we need to tap into. Is there's students on all these college campuses in this area that are studying sport management or think they want to be me when they grow up. How do we break down the wall of LinkedIn? Right? Like, yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn, but now you have an opportunity to connect with us in person.
Yeah.
Like, let's have relationships. We have a group me, we have a listserv. Like, get involved and step outside of yourself, because I didn't get to where I'm at right now by just being in my corner of the world and thinking it's just going to happen for me. It's like, no, you have to make the opportunities happen for you, but you have to step outside of yourself. So we're trying to meet people halfway. It's like, no longer are we a chapter that's a mysterious, or what are they doing? It's like, no, let's be visible. Let's be vocal. Let's be out and about in the community. Let's partner with other organizations and chapters and local businesses to be able to like have mutually beneficial opportunities, but also students, professionals, aspiring professionals, meet us there. We can only bring you so far, but like, let's build this community together.
What are from that community during your tenure in Black sports professionals, what are some of the stories that you've heard in terms of struggles that people have within some of these organizations or trying to even get to that position? Yeah,
I think, well, one is so much of the sports jobs aren't posted. So from I want to work in sports, but how? Sometimes it is who knows you. Sometimes it is figuring out what do you want to do? Like, starting that conversation. The struggles are normal. Like, I think that we're just working in sports and entertainment. But I think long hours, pay, opportunity for growth, professional development, those are things that are going to be challenges across the board. So again, how do we leverage this shared space where we all may have struggles? Being a woman in a male sport is hard too, right? That's a challenge. So I'm not the only one. Now I have friends, we have friends and peers in this group now. It's like, we can swap war stories, or, hey, I just went through that. Here's some advice. How do we champion again, our students? I think that's the biggest part, is like being able to be inside these organizations. Now we have an access point outside of the organizations to also help our organizations with hiring and retention, and meeting people that may not be on these job boards. Because again, like I said, every job's not posted, but even when jobs are posted, I think a lot of our responsibility as BSP Detroit is to share these opportunities. We have a host of internships that get posted. We have opportunities in different departments, sharing it. Like it does, no information is good if I just keep it in my brain, right? So telling people, to encourage people to like put things in our group chats, visibility again. Also being able to amplify applications. So I love when we have people that are like, oh, I applied for this opportunity, or I saw this opportunity. And it's like, great, send me your materials. I'll amplify it. Because we all know that being able to have somebody that's internal to an organization amplify or championing you might give you a look, right? You might already be a qualified applicant, but now somebody inside that's already vetted and has a understanding of the culture in the field is also like, putting their stamp on you. That's another look that you may not have had. So that's part of it. Again, it's like, we know how there's certain things that are still going to plague sports. Nepotism is always going to be involved. Access is going to be involved. the coaching tree, right? Like things are, there's so many things that are outside of our control, but we can control building a community in a space where people can at least hear this information and receive it. So that's, to me, one of our biggest goals is not only just membership and having people, but active membership, people that want to be involved in bringing their skill sets and their talents, time, and treasure to this space to build us up for the better of the community as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And let's say I'm somebody who's interested in joining BSP. What can I look forward to in terms of membership? If it's a fee or anything like that, once I sign up and I'm on board, what can I expect?
Yeah, you can expect one, community. And our fee is nominal. It's like $100 if you're not in the sports industry, and that's for a year. $75 if you are a sports professional, $50 if you're a student. I can spend $50 for dinner, right? Mm-hmm. So understand, like, when have we ever spent $100 or less and have had access to people that work at NFL, MLB, soccer, the Pistons, like all the, like, plus Michigan State, like our networks. You have access to a network of people that know people that there's no dollar amount equated. So I think one, community, access points. We're going to have socials. We have a social later today, which is our first ever members only social. Again, building that relationship. So now it's like, hey, I see you in a group meeting. Now it's like relationship building. And now it's like, oh, okay, you're here, you're doing this. So, because it shouldn't be that I don't know if I need something from somebody else around the city, that it's like, I don't have that partner someplace else that I could reach out to. And again, connectivity, professional development, access to some of the like larger events that happen nationally. Again, like I said, there's over 20 chapters for BSP across the country. So for example, this year, like draft was here. So people that came to town for draft, you have a place to come. You can have, like, you had a resource guide in terms of where to eat, where to play, where to stay. Plus our own events. Super Bowl was in Vegas. Las Vegas has a thriving chapter. So also connectivity, where if you may be going someplace for your own, just to be a fan, now you have a community of people that is like, oh, all right, well, I know there's a BSP in North Texas that's thriving. That's really the standard. It's like, okay, I might be able to now have a weekend of events or just have access points to people. So again, it's community building that goes beyond just the Detroit metro area, that's spanning the country. And I hope that one day we have a chapter in all of the 50 states.
Absolutely. So I want to switch gears a little bit. So now you got to tell me, so you're a sports professional. You also serve as president for BSP. And I want to know, how do you make time to side hustle? Like, how do you have, I mean, once again, in addition to being Jamaican, how do you make time to side hustle and then start a candle business?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just, I'm a busybody. So it's like, how do I keep my creative juices flowing? How do I keep an identity that isn't tied to an identity that does take up a lot of me? And the time is random nights and weekends. The time is, I make the time, honestly, because there's something that I get to do that is something that's bigger than me, when I get to create a custom scent that I know is healthy and that I know the ingredients that I'm putting into it. And I know that I get to tell a story through a scent. And right now it's a small business, it's me. And I hope that one day I can grow it to scale, but I get to tell a story. All my, like the candle scents are based on places I've lived or traveled. So the first one I made, I launched it, first of all, 2/15/2021. It's like 215 is the Philadelphia area code. And the first two scents I made were Je t'aime, which is I love you in French. And it's inspired by Paris, because I went to Paris with the men's basketball team when I was a graduate assistant. And then Dreams and Nightmares, which is my Philly inspiration one, which is that song that gets everybody going by Meek Mill. So again, it was like, these are two things. And like, for me, it was like, okay, when I think of Paris, what do I think of? Right. And I start there. What story am I telling? Going back to that journalism degree, what story do I get to tell through scent? And maybe some things are tied to the cultures in these places, or historic, like the flower or the nut that's associated, whatever that is, but I get to tell a story. So right now is not much time, because, you know, work is very much working. But I look forward to, when the seasons change, being able to do things at the level that I have the capacity to do it. But no, I think with anything that you love or you desire or you have interest in, you always make the time.
And how did you fall into it? Like, did you just decide I'm about to start cooking up candles and making my own signature scents, or what kind of sparked it?
I was giving Bath and Body Works too much money, frankly. And, you know, they have their sales on their little 3 weeks, and it's like great. But then I realized that the candle would be burnt out in like an hour or a couple hours, and I would have a headache. So I was like, okay, this can't be that hard, like, right? But also, how can I make it so I can have a good experience with a candle, not have a headache, and I have it for more than like the weekend? And it was like just testing, starting to have that curiosity. We're like, okay, well, their candles burn really fast because they use paraffin wax, which is a natural carcinogen, right? So this is all around the same time that I decided to transition away from eating meat and going pescatarian. So just being more intentional with like trying to be more intentional with what I put in my body, what I surround myself with, what I put on my skin. And it was like, okay, well, I know that this smell and this scent is like giving me a headache. And how do I create something that doesn't do that? And that's kind of where it just started. And it's just grown to now having 9 scents on the signature collection. And I have 2 seasonal scents. And
you're making it, these are all homemade. Like homemade, you don't have a factory or nothing like that?
No, homemade, cooking it up in the basement. And the location has changed as I moved. It was started off in my apartment in Lubbock, and it was in my apartment in Royal Oak, and now it's in my basement in Royal Oak.
For sure. And what was what has been some highlights of since you've been in business in terms of making your signature scent? I've seen that you've had an opportunity to vend in different places. Like, what are some of the highlights that you've had so far?
I think that to that point, I started it in 2021 in Lubbock, Texas. So it's a primarily 99.9%. It's a web-based business. So I don't really get to have that interaction with people as they smell it. So this past spring, I was able to do a small business Saturday at a woman-owned coffee shop in Royal Oak. And that I think has been the highlight, because it was like this little baby that I've been making in my basement or wherever for 4 years, 3 years. And I know people love it when I send it out. I give thank you cards. I get great feedback, get great reviews. Now I get to meet people that don't even know me. Like now, because again, your audience should never just be your friends and family if you want to grow something.
Right.
But I love my friends and family. They hold it down, right? Like my best friend buys candles like it's chewing gum, right? Yeah. Like that's just how it should be. My parents' house, all over the house is my candles. And I'm like, thank you, right? Like I respect it. I just went to visit one of my best friends since childhood in San Diego, and they have a newborn, so they don't burn candles right now, but the matches were my matches. And I appreciate that, right? But I know that I have a gift that I could share with other people, and I can't break that wall down without being in person. So that highlight thus far was that pop-up shop, and I was almost completely sold out that day. People had a really good experience with my products. So being able to see that face-to-face has been a really big highlight. That's
super dope. So I want to double back to something that you said in terms of if you're expecting like your family and friends to support you or like sustain your business, then that's kind of a mistake or a miss. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because that's something I always talk to people about. I had to overcome myself and understanding, like, you know, I got family. I'm looking to the camera. Yeah. I got family and friends that don't listen to the podcast or subscribe or anything like that. That's perfectly fine, because that may not necessarily be their thing. They may not necessarily want to hear business related stories about entrepreneur, all that type of stuff. But you have to find the people that do. That's the most important part. So I just want to know if you could share kind of like your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's real. And it's hard because support, I think the thing that we have to change is what we define support to be. Because support does not always have to be dollars and cents. Right. And I think that in the beginning, it was that because it was new. So I loved when like I kept getting the Shopify like noise every time I got orders that first couple of days when I launched in 2021. And it was my friends and family, because it was like, oh, you see me. And to be seen is so important. But it's not their responsibility to sustain something. And again, right now, I haven't scaled. I hope to scale one day where I don't even know who these people are that are buying my products. But we have to reimagine what that means for us, because support could be a like, support could be a share, support should be verbal, right? Like it doesn't have to be that you paid this money for my product, but maybe it's like I also love when people buy my product and they gift it to somebody else, because now you put my product in somebody else's household and you transform an experience for them and you introduce them to somebody that I don't know.
Right.
But that's a daily battle. That's a whole nother podcast episode, because that could go back to liking and support, like following your social media, right? Like there's some friends and family that I don't like your content. Right? So like, do I have to follow it? Right? Like that's a larger conversation, but I think this is a part of it where it goes back to like, we have to redefine what support means. And then you should also have that conversation with the people that, you know, if my significant other and my best friends don't support me, I think that is a valid conversation you should be having about what does that mean for me? How does that make me feel? But overall, I don't need my cousin in Jamaica to support me, right? Like I have to understand that like, that's just not what's going to sustain this business. And one day I hope that when my best friends and people order candles, I have so many candle orders that I don't even remember. Yeah. And then I have somebody else that don't even know that that's my best friend that's packaging it. Right. Right. But right now I know who they are and I write every thank you note and I package it and I make everything myself. But you can't wait for that applause. or expect the applause if you don't actually set the expectation and have that conversation.
Because I've seen people crash out over stuff like that, and it's just like, you don't support me, and you know, my support is running out, or my support is. It's like you can't worry about that. You worried about the wrong things. Go, it's somebody who wants what you have. Go find them.
Focus on that. Yeah, because the people that are going to support you are going to support you regardless. And again, it could be like, have that conversation and be like, hey, financially, I don't need your support. I need you to share. I need your followers to see what I have going on. And if they can't do that, then that's a conversation, right? Or that's you just, now you know where you stand. But to assume that your friends and close family members are going to keep your business going is foolishness.
Absolutely. Would you ever do brick and mortar? I know you say you're digital right now, but would you ever consider brick and mortar?
I would love to, but I have to be realistic in terms of my life. I would love to, and I would love to expand. Right now, it's all candles. I would love to have like room sprays, pillow mists, body creams. Like I would love to have a candle where you can melt the wax and you could use it as an oil. Like the ideas are endless, but the capacity is very, very little.
Got you.
Brick and mortar, I think, has its upside. Before brick and mortar, I would just love to do more partnerships with local businesses, small businesses, to be able to brand it, associate, like, you know what I mean? Like I could do, you know, people don't even need to know it's my candle, but like that's the candle, that's that person's, or that's that establishment's like custom scent. But brick and mortar, I think everybody has a level of aspiration to have a brick and mortar, but I'm only going to do what makes sense of what God tells me I need to be doing.
Of course. So is this potentially the next frontier once you exit out of sports and being so hands-on with that, or could they coexist simultaneously for the long term? Like what are you kind of thinking?
Yeah, I think it's gonna coexist. I think it will always coexist to some regard. I think I'm always gonna have a creative niche that I'm gonna always want to like itch, if that's the right phrasing, and I see this as a lifetime thing, and wanting it to grow, wanting it to scale, wanting it to evolve as it's supposed to evolve. But I don't need it to be like a Bath and Body Works, right? Yeah. I want it to be for the people that have this interest and have this curiosity, and whoever wants to enjoy it.
And you say you make candles based off of places that you visited or that you lived in. So I know Detroit candles smell the best, right? What's that scent called?
It's in here.
Yeah, show us what you got.
It is called Mahogany River.
Okay.
And I don't know what that is, but Mahogany River. Here, you smell it. You tell me what you think.
All right, let me see. We're going to do the live smell test. Oh, yeah, this hit. Now, why Mahogany River for Detroit?
The river is a big part of it. Mahogany, this is a black city. I don't want anybody ever to have questions about that. And mahogany is a beautiful shade of brown.
Love it. That's super dope. So, Jessica, we talked sports. We've talked entrepreneurship. We've talked about a lot of things here today. I would love to know, what do you see in your crystal ball? What's on the frontier? What do you feel like is on the next horizon for you?
Yeah, we'll continue to thrive in my career, continue to create space and serve at a high level. But with BSP Detroit, growing our membership significantly, having chapters on college campuses is a goal of mine, as well as is our leadership goal. Building partnerships with some of these local organizations, even national organizations for BSP, getting some more money and support into the community as well. And for my business is just to grow and continue to cook up some, good candles in my basement until God says otherwise. But I just want to be present, and that's something that I fight for daily, is to be present. So wherever my feet are, I want to be there. And a lot of that is around my sports career and in BSP Detroit, but finding pockets of peace. So I want to be present, I want to be fulfilled, and I want to be of service. So I want to just keep doing that. That's awesome. Now, where can the people find you if they're interested in following your journey, learning more about you, if they want to tap in with BSP, and also if they want to get some candles and some scents? Yeah. So my Instagram is actually Journey with JG. So that's easy. That's my personal Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people pending. But if you really want to talk to me, find me on LinkedIn and send me a message there. BSP_Detroit on Instagram. It's www.bspdetroit.com is our new website. Like I said, membership is $50, $75, or $100. We all have that or have access to that. And if you want to have a career in sports, it's a good time to make that investment. Very nominal fee. And Essentials is essentialsbyjg.com, as well as on Instagram.
Dope. Well, Jessica, thank you for stopping by the podcast today. Thank you for bringing your expertise and background to the show. Also, of course, by bringing gifts. We always love getting gifts here on the podcast. I burn candles, me and my wife, so this definitely gonna get put to use. So we appreciate it. And everybody watching, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. Check out episodes that you missed or the next episode and hit that subscribe button. We'll tap in with y'all soon. Peace.